For me, this year's budget is not any different from the other budgets. Why am I saying this? I saw you cutting the budget, cutting the cake, not the budget, cutting the cake.
Yeah.
And I liked the analogy of the cake, because in times of crisis, you give the bigger part to the person who bring in food, isn't it?
That's a big one. Say it again.
In a times of crisis, hunger, you give the biggest portion of the food to the person who is going to bring in food.
Yeah.
And that's how it has been. When you read, I'm a historian, you read Shaka Zulu, all those wars, it's the men, because they are going to go fight, get more money, get more food. So when I was looking at the way the budget has been allocated, for a long time, even today, Ministry of Trade, Industry, Agriculture at the bottom. I waited, I saw you cutting the slices, the slices, and it hit me, that what? This portion is the portion for Ministry of Trade, Industry, Cooperatives. You left out to that, and Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry, Yet, the times we are in, the biggest challenge facing government is the recovery of the economy. Our NDP3 is also talking about industrialization for job creation and shared prosperity. And for me, I think it rhymes well with the times we are in. Government has been talking about import substitution. We need to export, but also export value-added products. Government is talking about creating jobs. There is a lot of unemployment. There is a lot of disguised employment. People walking around that they are selling this and that, but they are unemployed. So when you look at where we are at the moment with the COVID, because COVID pandemic has battered the economy. First of all, the economy wasn't as strong as some people are telling us. People are telling us that, the GDP, it has been growing at so much. I'm not an economist. I look at the reality. We have been exporting raw coffee, raw beans, raw maize, and importing finished products. And there is an imbalance. We have been running a trade deficit for a long time. Things have to change. And for me, when you look at the way the budget has been cut, industry, trade, cooperative below, tourism. Agriculture, tourism below. These are what are called productive sectors. Productive sectors, and we haven't touched them. Then you wonder, really, what are we talking about? Let me tell you something about the Ministry of Trade. Ministry of Trade houses UNBS. The biggest challenge Uganda has, even when we are exporting beans and maize, is that the brand we have, that our products are below standard. Even across Kenya here, our maize has been rejected so many times because of aflatoxins. You are aware that our market in the EU, we are no longer exporting to the EU because we put in place a self-ban, because EU banned our vegetables. Then they said, okay, you can bring them. But we said, no, we haven't yet put our house in order. Because, in trade, the moment you send things and they are not, up to standard,
then they can be rejected.
But the rejection is so bad, because also, they might say, for 5 years, don't bring your products.
So are you then worried that the way the allocations are being made may not necessarily actually stimulate the economy?
It won't. The economy won't be stimulated. Because, like I said, the Ministry of Trade is the key to stimulating the economy. Because at the moment, our eyes should be on the economy, creating jobs, reviving businesses. You know, the Ministry of Trade has the SME Directorate. When we talk about private sector in Uganda here, almost 90% of the private sector, SMEs.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do with such a budget? With agriculture, government is talking about agro-industrialization. And for me, I support that. This country, we need to add value to agricultural produce.
I wanted to, in a second, 30 seconds, for you to talk to me about, well, government is saying they're injecting money into Uganda Development Bank, injecting money into the Microfinance Support Center, and you talked about SMEs, and for me, this is where my interest comes in. Do you then think that, you know, members who are under the SME bracket will actually have access to that money?
That's a big worry. Government is putting money in UDC, which is very good, because the private sector, they need finance to inject in their businesses. Because most of the SMEs, the private sector, they have eaten even the capital, they have nothing. But if you put money in UDC, I doubt whether those MSMEs will access the money in UDC. We have advised government to put money in WUZIA, the associations. SMEs have associations. The Uganda Small Scale Industrial Association, you know, there is UWIL, Uganda Women's Entrepreneur Association, for women entrepreneurs. Let government put money there, and let also government put a minimal, very minimal interest on that money, because at the end of the day, when the economy booms, government can be able to recoup that money.
All right, Jen, let's shift gears and talk about taxation. I had a conversation with David Bahati, and the president indeed made his case and saying that they're going to not to waive, but they're going to suspend the payment of pay-as-you-earn, corporate tax until September. This is in a way to help, you know, money get back to people's pockets. Let's start there. What do you make of these tax measures that government has come through with?
You know, tax plays so many roles, but tax should be used as a tool to develop the economy, to develop the people. So collecting revenue is just one aspect of taxation, you know. So taxation, government should make sure that they don't stifle the businesses, the economy, and they have to make sure that there is money in people's pockets so that people can be able to spend, to consume. We are talking about consumers. For government to say they are suspending, you know, there's a problem, because you suspend pay as you earn. I have to pay it at one time or another. Where do I get that money? In fact, when it comes to pay as you earn, we are requesting that government pushes the threshold, you know, to 600 or from 500, so that when you are earning 500,000, that's when you start paying pay as you earn. But today's 230, less than $100.
Think about how much money government would have lost in terms of revenue.
You know,
because they need to, let's face it, they need to finance the budget.
I agree.
21 trillion shillings is going to come from revenue collection.
I agree. But you know, it's like eating an egg, and then you miss out on the chicken. What we are saying, these are short-term measures. Government is getting loans to be able to support the budget. For the time being, let government get those loans, but let them ensure that the economy is running and the economy is not stifled.
All right. Let's talk about the tax measures. Government is putting taxes on, for example, fuel, on beer, on spirits and wines. What do you make of the new tax measures that government has put in place?
You know, like I have told you, tax is supposed to be a tool for development. Tax, if we are saying that the goal of the budget is to be able to grow the economy, then tax has to be used as a tool for growing the economy. So let us bear in mind, because you don't tax in the abstract, you tax to be able to achieve a certain goal, and our goal is to get revenue, and that's the delicate balancing we have been talking about, to get revenue but to grow the economy. There are areas where government can be able to tax without stifling the economy. For example, the issue of fuel. Fuel, our taxes are very high. Fuel can go down a little bit. Let government reduce on fuel, even if it's for 6 months while the economy is coming up. Another area is government is talking about import substitution. That means that if, for example, we want to grow the textile industry, all of us in Uganda here are putting on Chinese clothes, shirts, dresses, and if you want to
that statement annoys the president very much, because he's always saying, look guys, I put on Ugandan made products and you people are still buying Chinese clothes, and he's talking about import substitution. Yeah,
because people will think we are patriotic, but our pockets are not patriotic. I go to a shop, if a Chinese shirt is cheap, if a second-hand shirt or dress is cheap, I'll go for the second-hand shirt.